Now, I want you to imagine that you lived in a neighborhood where every single one of your neighbors believed that in order for them to be worthy of their own God, they needed to destroy you and every person in your family. Everybody who lived in your home needed to be destroyed in order for them to essentially fulfill their own doctrine, their own prophecy, and for their God to be made manifest on earth. Now, not only that, but on one special occasion, on a chosen day, let's say sometime during an October, something of that sort, right? Just random month. Maybe let's say on the 6th, 7th, let's just call it the 7th, right? They decide to break into your home, to slaughter as many of your family members as they can, and to kidnap the rest. Now, I'm almost certain that if this was you in your household, you would not only defend yourself and do all that you could to defend your family, but you would look to get some sort of retribution. You would go out there and search every single home in order to get your kids back, to get your living family members back. And you would not cease until that happened. Now, unfortunately, this just so happens to be a reality that is currently taking place. Yet for too much of the world, this has become a story of, look at those big old bullies who are killing innocent children and women. That's the lie that's being sold. As a matter of fact, it's become an entire movement. Where can you go where you don't see free Palestine, free Palestine? It's a genocide. Now, I'm somebody who was born on the continent of Africa. And for most of my life, I heard real stories up the street about genuine genocide. I'm talking about people being erased because of who they were. That just so happens to be an ideology that is not only carried by, let's say, the Hutus and the Tutsis, or essentially what happened in Rwanda, or what we see in 1930s Germany. But this is a mentality that is present day in Islam. Fundamental by the Quran, Islam states that the infidel, i.e., the non-believer, that those who believe in anything other than this doctrine, speaking of those of Western ideology, let's not get this twisted. These are the very same neighbors that state that this little neighbor is the little devil, and then in the other neighborhood is the big devil. And that big devil is the United States of America. And that's why this continues to blow my mind, that people who are yelling the loudest, with the most activism, with the most enthusiasm about this quote unquote pro-Palestine movement, don't even have just the basic foundational human to human understanding of this is a group of people who were attacked on the basis of their race, ethnicity, of their origin, for the sake of fulfilling an ideology. The reason why Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, etc. will never cease until they're completely removed and destroyed is because they want to wipe you out completely. There is no surrender for them. There is no end game. They look to usher in their quote unquote creator, their quote unquote deity, their God, by destroying you. That's what their doctrine states. So when you hear of the Ayatollah, who stands up there as the ruler of, let's say, Iran, he's not up there in the same way an American president or even, an Israeli prime minister is standing. No, he's up there with a religious purpose, with a doctrinal purpose, with a theological purpose. This is an individual who is doing this because it's what he believes in absolutely. There is no compromise We are here to destroy the enemy in order to bring in our God. Simple. And so I just want to show y'all a video that, it may not seem related, but it's a powerful depiction just to get an understanding of who we're dealing with. Like yesterday, I put out a post, and it's incredible how many people finally coming out of the woodworks telling the truth about this and being bold and unafraid to say, wait a minute, maybe this is the wrong side of history. Maybe, just maybe, I don't know. Why exactly are we supporting those who believe in globalizing terroristic regime? Maybe we got this all wrong. But I put out a post yesterday that read the following. Many of the individuals who are currently in Gaza stand behind the Hamas regime. Many. It's not like in Iran where you have, a large part of the population that wants to eradicate the current regime, believes it to be oppressive, and they want freedom. Many of those individuals that the so-called Westerners are crying out for their freedom, right, against their quote-unquote captivity, those very same people are in support of the ones that are essentially using them as disposable, as parts of this greater scheme to create absolute and utter chaos that's going to usher in their God. And so I just want to show y'all this video right here. And, you can make of it as you will. It's a little disturbing, but it's not something that's graphic or so, visually disturbing that you won't be able to see it. But the ideology behind it is. So let's go ahead and get into that.
Martyrdom is a hugely important concept here in the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're currently at an event where hundreds of women hold their babies into the air to show that they're willing to offer their children as martyrs for God and for Imam Hussein. All of that goes back to the legendary Battle of Karbala, where Imam Hussein held his baby into the air, asking the enemy that was besieging Karbala to give the baby water, and instead the enemy killed the baby. Now, there's nothing more glorious here than dying.
Y'all hear that, right? These are mothers. Because remember, those stats that the Hamas's healthcare center continues to put out, all these numbers of how many people, have been killed, or more specifically, it's always, infants and mothers. As a matter of fact, I want to bring this up real fast. I thought that this was telling. So right here, what's that one? GU. Yep. This is the type of stuff that you'll see on a regular basis. And I thought it was hilarious as far as people's observation about these sorts of things. So this reads, another baby passed away due to malnutrition, resulted of the lack of formula and other supplements. So basically there's this narrative that, it is Israel that is causing the starvation of these people now. They're being cut off from resources and any sort of aid and things of that nature. So they push these sort of propaganda pieces to the absolute. And I'm not saying that Israel doesn't have its own propaganda. I'm not saying that, I fully endorse, everything Netanyahu is doing, etc. But I'm just bringing up the facts here. The side of the conversation that most of y'all don't want to have. Well, not you necessarily, but, those who claim to care so much about what's going on over there. So this is interesting because, this is the father, right? Holding his child. Oh, my child is starving. Do y'all notice anything about this? This is just going to take a little bit of critical thinking, right? This child is starving of malnutrition, yet this is what the father looks like. So it's obvious that the child is the only one that is being deprived of a meal, is what I'm getting to, right? But that's a little digression. I just want to bring that up because I thought it was interesting and hilarious at the same time. Not funny as far as what's actually going on. And Lord knows if that's even the case. There's so many of these fake stories that are continuously pushed out by, I guess you could say by many of these different regimes that have kind of funded the propaganda machine. But yeah, we have mothers here with their children that they are offering up essentially to their God to die for their creator, for Allah. Now, wouldn't you think that these narratives of, well, these children are being targeted, these women are being targeted, innocent people are being targeted by Israeli soldiers? Wouldn't you question that if you saw on the opposite side a people who say, hey, yeah, we're going to wipe out the Jews, we're going to wipe out the Christians, which they're doing on a daily basis, and we don't care if our babies have to die for it because they will go to heaven and they'll be honored as martyrs? Do you not think of people with that sort of mentality? I don't know. It's hard to quantify them. And again, I'm speaking of the ones who are given over to this fundamentalist mentality, right? Who are given over to true Islam, who really believe that doctrine. The ones who are in participation at this event. Don't you, just for a second, again, I'm not even trying to shape your narrative. I'm just showing y'all what's in front of me and how I'm thinking through these things, right? Outside of let's just, hate the Jew and blame the Jew, which has been going on since antiquity, since the beginning of time, can we just maybe, just for a second, think to ourselves, maybe we don't have the full story here. Maybe, just maybe, we're being lied to by the very same individuals who yell, I don't know, death to America. Maybe those guys aren't actually our ally. Maybe they would be willing to fund propaganda that would sway as many people to sympathize with them before they completely take over, fulfilling 3 of the main staples of how Islam takes over. Number 1 is through the womb, they say, which is we're going to outpopulate you. And if you've been anywhere in, most of the EU or things of that nature, you have already seen that taking place. You give birth to 1.5 children. We give birth to 5. Then we have, secondly, I believe it is your laws, your essential free thinking, free speaking laws. We're going to use those in opposition to you. And then there's a third one. I forget what that one is, but essentially there's these staples of how they come in and they take over. They come in and again, I'm not looking to just target and say, look at these evil people. I am just stating what their stance is, what they believe in, and essentially what they do.
As a martyr. And of course, right now, that concept takes on an even more important meaning as Iran is involved in this massive struggle with Israel and the United States.
We want to show them we are not scared of anything, she says, and will support our state until they are destroyed. And she says they need to know that Imam Hussein is our everything and we should sacrifice our lives for Imam Hussein.
Until they are destroyed. Until they are destroyed. For the sake of nothing else besides their text, their ideology. That's how they view us. Because, there's this, I'm not even going to say it's really an idea. It's a well-crafted narrative for us to turn a blind eye to this that is being pushed by the likes of the Tucker Carlsons and the so-called true America First, the Nick Fuentes's, all these sorts of characters. We need to stop involving ourselves in everybody else's business. And I completely agree in that. Yeah, if it's not our business, we shouldn't. But this has always been our business. We saw this as recently on our own soil as September 11th, 2021. We saw that. Now, there's people out there who don't want to believe what they saw, what was actually taking place, and who was responsible and behind it. But we saw that. And in the last how many decades, there have been close to 60,000 terror attacks from one specific group of people? I mean, when I look at, statistics when it comes to like crime in America, things of that nature, I'm straight up about it. Look, this group of people are committing a majority of the crimes. I do that with everything else. It's just pure reason and logic, hopefully, with as little emotional input as possible. Doesn't it make sense that you, as the person whose home was infiltrated, broken into by individuals who want to eradicate you for the sake of their ideology, they have a deep hatred and a disdain for you and who you are and what you are. It has little to do with much else. It's who you are and what you are. They don't hate you because you did something. They're not gearing up their militia because you did something. It's because you are something. You believe in Western values, you're an enemy. Simple. So this is why I'm going to continue to expose this, because again, with these voices who I thought were truly on our side. And when I say on our side, I don't mean MAGA, none of that. It ain't political. It's deeper than that. Good and evil. Well, I really thought these people, Tucker, oh yes. Wait a minute. Why are you giving a harder time to the Christian or than you are to Putin or, the prince or the king or the prime minister of Qatar? And seems a little off here. Ted Cruz gets a harder time than the rule of Qatar. Okay. All right. Well, Nick Fuentes already been out of here. Dave Smith claims to be a comedian. I say as much a comedian as Dr. Dre is a doctor. Okay. Why are we spending more time, against these guys instead of observing the ones who are actually causing a majority of the real life problems? When we want to get in conspiracy land, we can, talking to a blue in the face. You'll never get anywhere with these people, right? The most they have to show you for their evidence is, another YouTube video with some crappy graphics and some horror type music in the background, like 90s horror music, and basement dwelling narrator essentially explaining the Rothschilds control your bank account type of thing, right? But when it comes to the realities, why don't we talk about what's actually going on? There are actually Christians that are being massacred in these Muslim regimes. There are actual women who are being slaughtered for not covering their hair. Where are feminists at? Where are our quote unquote Black Lives Matter at when dark-skinned peoples around the world are being persecuted? Just so happens to be persecuted by brown people. I guess nobody cares then. So I said to myself, okay, yes, I'm going to get a lot of backlash. I don't know what's going to come with this. I don't. I just know that my job is to tune in to truth. If God says so, then it's so. My spirit sits right with it. Even if it means that I lose every single person who's been following me this far, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the backlash. I'm okay with, the Jews. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with I'm paid off by Mossad. I'm okay with I've been okay with being a sellout, because I am black and speaking on things that you're not supposed to be speaking on. You're a traitor. How dare you? I'm okay with that. But this is America first. This is humanity first. And America was supposed to stand for the most humane aspects. Not perfect, because no man is. I'm not. Don't ever look for that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all something simply because I want you to like me. That's what we're not going to do. If you agree with it or not, that's up to you, but I'm going to show it. So I'm going to let this play out. And, again, you come up with your own conclusions in this life. Please, please, please continue to think for yourself.
This is a symbol saluting Imam Hussein, she says, who's the leader of all the oppressed who stand against oppressors and don't submit.
And just to show how big this is in Iran right now, the crowd here was chanting "Death to America, Death to Israel," and there was even a children's choir that was singing songs as videos were shown of Iran's missile program in action, and of course also when the Trump administration carried out those strikes against Iranian nuclear installations. In total, right now, as this conflict is taking place, all of this extremely important to the folks here.
appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.